Hello Internet, welcome to episode 27 of Wurlitzer Organ Rescue. My name is Michael and I'm on a mission to rescue, restore, rebuild and return to full working order this 100-year-old Wurlitzer 105 band organ. This is its little brother over here, a replica that I've been building for almost 20 years. Coincidentally, exactly the same model as the one that I found on the internet in pieces. But over the last 26 episodes we've rebuilt almost all the major components in the original 100-year-old, except for one, and that's the wind bellows, the pressure bellows. And that's what we're going to look at today. Before we go on, I'd just like to ask you a quick favour. Please like and subscribe, and then you won't miss any more episodes. Right, let's go and find these wind bellows and see what condition they're in. Come on. Well, yesterday I gave this a good looking over. From the outside, obviously, I couldn't get in here. I don't have a little camera jobby. But I noticed that the top has been sanded. It's very old, it's been dinged and battered, but it shows a bit of character. And the spill valve has been sanded as well, but never finished. You look underneath here, you'll see that this has been finished before. But someone was doing a restoration of sorts on this and didn't quite get around to finishing it. The rubberized fabric on these on the reservoir is very old and brittle, and it's just, there's nothing holding it together basically. And these edging strips, these little tacked on pieces of wood, are very thin and poor. They're not even being held in very much. And on the rear here, there's no cover, which means mice have got in there. There's mice droppings around here, which I've cleaned out as best I can, but I've really no idea what it's like inside. Also, this has been repaired with just a strip of wood pinned on the top. I would have replaced the entire piece. But more importantly, when I turned it over, I noticed on the bottom some massive cracks going all the way through. Now someone's had a go at filling them, but they've cracked again. And so I believe these need to be replaced. So the jury is no longer out. This needs a full rebuild, and so for the rest of this episode I'm going to be tearing this down, finding out which pieces need fixing and repairing, and I'm also going to write to Columbia Organ Leather and order some new leather for these bellows. So yeah, a lot more work than I was hoping for, but that's been true of every single component in this 100-year-old organ. I guess I should have expected that. Okay, let me get stuck in. First thing I'm going to do is remove the spill valve and the spring. As I take off the spill valve, you can see that it's been sanded. The last time it was partially restored, I guess. But if you see here, when I take off the spill valve and we look underneath, you'll see that they didn't even bother taking this off when they sanded the top, and they sanded around it. You can still see the remaining shellac or finish there, which is a mystery. This beading is also very thin. It's not very useful. It's got pins in, and the pins have got very small heads, which don't really give it much purchase to hold it against the leather, which kind of defeats the purpose. And it's very brittle. You can see that there's lots of staples holding the cloth on. Well, when I did mine, this is my replica, you'll see that I used tailor-made shaped pieces, and I used upholstery pins. These upholstery pins have got bigger heads and got a lot more purchase to hold it into the actual leather. Right, I've got off most of the brittle trim that was around it. Now I'm going to take the top off, the top of the reservoir. I'm just going to slice through it with a scalpel. Now the scalpel is my go-to tool for a lot of bits and pieces and trimming. It's a very useful tool. At this point, I'm beginning to feel that this is a bigger job than I anticipated. You see a lot of damage from mice. There's a crack that's had a block screwed over it. And these pieces of hard plastic instead of valve leather, that's also a mystery. Okay, this is interesting. Paper dated 1911, recovered 1981 by B. Crouch, Phoenix, Arizona, USA. Well, that's 44 years since it was recovered. And I'm not sure it was ever playing after that. The gentleman I received these parts from, Mr. Terry Younts, told me that he bought them as is from a gentleman in Arizona. Almost certainly this was to B. Crouch. And Terry intended to restore it, but never got round to it. And he'd had it for many years. He also mentioned that the guy he got it from in Arizona, who I now know to be B. Crouch, also intended to restore it, but didn't have the time, I guess. So looking at this bellows, it looks like it was never fully completed at the last restoration. Quite possibly it hasn't played music since before 1981, possibly 50 years ago. So this is really one of those organs that almost completely disappeared from the face of the earth. It's been moving around Arizona, up north, one of the northern states I think Terry lives in. And it could easily have ended up in a dumpster if I didn't take on the job of all this work. It's a massive amount of work just for a hobby. But I'm actually really pleased because it means that it's going to be part of my legacy when I go in a few years. This piece of wood I'm taking off now, that goes all the way around, that's not on the plans. It looks like it was put on there to give something to glue the leather to. Now I know it looks a real mess, and parts of it are a real mess, but I can save a lot of it. I can save these sections here. I can save the upper board of the where the pump board goes in between, but this has been chopped and diced and fixed and edited so much that I'd like to remove this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece and replace it. Once I've got this off, then I can look at what the next steps are. But there's a note here that says that this was, it's lined with papers from 1911. That's 114 years ago. So obviously this is either not original to my organ, or They built a lot of these 125 standard bellows or components and kept them in storage for years until they got they needed them. So that's interesting. So now I'm going to dismantle a little bit more and have a tidy up. Well, here's another note, paper dated 1911, recovered 1981 by BC, Phoenix, Arizona. Now, if anyone knows why an organ delivered in the 1920s has a bellows that must have been manufactured before 1911 or in 1911, please let me know in the comments. I do know that this style of bellows was used in several models of Wurlitzer Wind organs and is known as the 125 style, so there are more of them floating around than just for the 105 model. Here I'm taking out a few more screws. They are very, very easy to get out. They've been in and out, it seems, a few times, so holes were really quite worn. At this point, I'm also getting worried about the mouse droppings and the mouse urine stains. It's been sitting in storage for, upwards of 40 years. So mice have been living in here for a very long time. That came off quite easy. Just tapping it in case it came off. Now look here. This is where there's lots of holes and things, and really all they needed there was a couple of screws. And there's more cracks. This is when I realized, I think, that I would have to remake the upper and lower boards. I guess you could do something with it, but then that would be a fix that wouldn't last very long, and I do want this to last for another 100 years. The more I get into this, the more the word is not despondent, it's disappointing to see the state it's in. I want to try and save these pieces, these blocks here. Now I have to replace these this top board, but I want to try and save these. Is there any point? Yes, I guess, but I can't get them off without damaging them. So what I want to do is I'm just going to take a saw through there and take this off in its entirety. It'll destroy this and this, but they're destroyed anyway. Look at these cracks. That little block put over there might have made sense 50 years ago when it was recovered, but not now. So I'm going to take that off. Once that's done, I can just saw down the middle, in the middle of these space bars between the two sides. I've also noticed that this is only like, it's 3/8 of an inch thick, these boards, and I don't know if that's what it was on the drawings. I'm going to check that out. Yeah, the bottom stationary board and the top stationary board are supposed to be 1/2 an inch thick. I'm guessing over the years that 1/2 an inch has really shrunk due to drying out and age. There's no way that's 1/2 an inch. I will just check that. Yes, the top stationary board and the bottom stationary board are really like 3/8 now. So, and they're very brittle and they've split. Well, obviously they split because there's lots of splits in here. So they have to be remade. But the center board, the movable board, that looks like I can save those. And I might be able to save the wedges. So that's there we go for now. I'm just going to be brutal and open this up. You can tell from the this is all nails. There's so many nails, and it's not even screwed. It's just been nailed back together. And this, I can go in here and pull out a handful of this green stuff, which was used, I guess, to hold the stiffeners in place. But you can see they well past its prime. Okay, I'm just going to rip the rest to pieces and see what I can salvage. Please forgive me. Poor old Bellows. I've set the depth of cut to about half an inch, just over half an inch. And remember, as I'm cutting through these boards, they're dead anyway, and I want to try and rescue these pieces, and they'll be easier to rescue once I've got them separated from this. Then I can take out the screws, run it through the planer, and do all that good stuff. So this breaks my heart, but here we go. Well, that's it all dismantled, if you could call it dismantling it. I would say more like demolition. So many cracks and so many things wrong with it that most of it can't be used. But the important things, like the pump boards, which are the most difficult to make because they're tapered, they've got lots of intricate carving and channeling, they're good. So I'm going to tidy up here now, and then I'm just going to lay out the pieces I can use, and we'll just have a final recap before we finish this episode. These are the parts that I've been able to save. I'm keeping these, so I've got templates for when I make the new leathers to go on them. I've actually got templates for those already, but I just want to make sure there's no real big difference. This is the top. It's actually in quite good condition for its age, but I don't want to do too much of the inside. Maybe I'll give it a coat of varnish or something to seal it a bit more. The outside, I can maybe put a veneer on it, but either way, that can be saved. The two pump boards are actually in good condition. I'm going to get the hot air gun and take off the final pieces of leather. Then I can kind of sand them. Give them a coat of something to protect the newspaper articles that are there. And I'll put new newspaper articles under the new top and bottom boards. Now, got this. This is fine. They'll be great. I'll be able to use those. Got the spring that holds that down. All of these nice little metal pegs that hold the boards apart. Now, here's the thing. I was hoping to use these two, But the more I look at it and the damage from holes and screws and things, the fact is I really think I will just make new ones. I think I'd like to make my life just a little bit easier on this, as it's difficult enough already. I'm not completely sure about that. I was thinking of running this through a planer and trying to save that. I might still do that, we'll see how I feel. Now, this is a hinge from where the top goes up and down, creating the reservoir. But it's been glued with wood glue and dozens of little pins and nails and things, and I think I can do a little bit better than that. The disappointing thing is that when it was last restored, recovered, they used this kind of green tape to hold the wooden, these thick pieces. And instead of having leather over the leather valves, they've had this plastic. And that's absolutely wrong. There's many reasons for that. It's just totally hard and flat. It would never mould itself to the holes it's being sucked into and sold like a nice piece of thick packing leather would. And the whole point with this is to make it airtight, and that is not going to be airtight. No way, no how. So that's all I've got for today. It's been a bit of a struggle. So tune in next time when I start making the new parts, because this is also going to be lasting another 100 years by the time I'm finished. Cheers! Have a great weekend. Bye bye.